It started with a flat tire. I had been driving home from work, exhausted and ready to crash, when I heard that dreaded pop, followed by the rhythmic thumping of a deflated tire. I pulled over to the side of the road, already cursing my luck. After fumbling in the dark with the tools in my trunk, I realized I didn't even have a spare tire. Just an old, rusted jack and a useless lug wrench. Calling a tow truck would have taken hours, and I was in no mood to wait out there in the cold. My phone showed I wasn't too far from the nearest bus stop. I figured I could catch a bus, get home, and deal with the car in the morning. I locked the car, threw my hood over my head, and made my way toward the dimly lit bus stop. When I reached the stop, it was oddly quiet. No one else was waiting, which seemed strange for that time of night. After a few minutes, headlights appeared down the street, and an old, clunky bus pulled up to the curb. The doors screeched open with an unsettling hiss, and I stepped aboard. The driver gave me a brief glance, his expression hard to read beneath the flickering lights. His uniform was wrinkled and outdated, and there was something strange about the way he held himself, like he was just going through the motions without fully being there. Without saying a word, he motioned for me to drop my fare into the machine. I did as instructed and made my way down the narrow aisle. At first glance, the bus seemed normal. A handful of passengers sat scattered throughout, their faces half hidden in the dim light. I took a seat near the middle, hoping to blend into the background, but as soon as I sat down, I noticed something off. The people on the bus didn't look right. There was a woman sitting 2 rows in front of me, her head tilted unnaturally to the side, her long, matted hair obscuring most of her face. She was humming softly, the kind of tune you hum to yourself when you think no one is listening. But the melody was strange, disjointed, like it didn't belong in this world. A man near the back of the bus was rocking back and forth in his seat, muttering under his breath. His hands trembled, clutching an old leather briefcase that looked like it had been through a war. I tried not to stare, but every time I glanced in his direction, I could swear his muttering got louder. And then there was the couple sitting just a few seats away from me. They were holding hands, but their smiles were frozen, too wide, and their eyes were vacant, almost as if they were dolls pretending to be people. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat and tried to focus on the window. The bus rolled through the streets, the buildings outside blurring into shadowy shapes. But as I watched, something strange happened. The scenery outside didn't look familiar. The streets looked old, abandoned, as if the city had been left to rot years ago. The streetlights were dim, flickering sporadically, casting eerie shadows on the cracked pavement. I leaned closer to the window, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, and that's when I noticed the first really strange thing. The bus hadn't stopped once. I checked my watch. 15 minutes had passed since I'd boarded, but the bus just kept driving, never slowing down, never pulling over. I scanned the aisle, wondering if anyone else had noticed, but the passengers all sat perfectly still, as if they belonged there, as if this endless ride was normal to them. I felt a chill crawl down my spine and decided I had to say something. I stood up, gripping the edge of my seat for support as the bus lurched forward. "Hey!" I called out to the driver, my voice louder than I'd intended. "When's the next stop?" The driver didn't respond. His hands stayed glued to the wheel, his eyes fixed on the road ahead as if I wasn't even there. I made my way toward the front of the bus, careful not to look at the other passengers. The humming woman was louder now, and the man in the back was muttering so fast it was almost unintelligible. My pulse quickened as I reached the driver's seat. "Hey!" I said again, this time tapping him on the shoulder. He turned his head slowly, too slowly, and looked right at me. His eyes were empty, dark, sunken hollows where his eyes should have been. I stumbled back, my breath catching in my throat. The driver's lips curled into a grotesque smile, as if my fear amused him. Then, without a word, he turned back to the road, gripping the wheel even tighter. I knew then that something was very, very wrong. I spun around, desperate to get off the bus, but the door was sealed shut. I pounded on it, shouting for someone, anyone, to open it. But no one moved. The passengers sat motionless, their eerie smiles plastered on their faces. And that's when I noticed something even worse. Their faces were changing. The humming woman's smile twisted into something unnatural, her eyes widening as if she was excited by my panic. The rocking man stopped muttering, his head snapping up to reveal a grin that stretched far too wide for his face. And the couple, they weren't even blinking anymore, their heads tilting in unison as they watched me struggle. I had to get out. I had to get off that bus before whatever was happening got worse. I grabbed the emergency handle near the back door, yanking on it with all my strength, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if the door was welded shut, trapping me inside with these things. Suddenly, the bus jerked violently, throwing me to the floor. I scrambled to my feet just in time to see the lights flicker. For a moment, everything was plunged into darkness, and when the lights came back on, the passengers were gone. Every single one of them. The seats were empty, the aisle eerily quiet. I turned in a slow circle, my heart pounding in my chest. It was as if I was the only person left on the bus. And then I heard it. A soft, low chuckle. I whipped around, and there, standing at the back of the bus, was the driver. He wasn't driving anymore. He was just standing there, watching me with that same twisted smile. "How long do you think you've been riding?" he asked, his voice a rasping whisper that sent chills down my spine. I couldn't answer. My throat was dry, and my hands were shaking uncontrollably. The driver took a step forward, his grin widening. "You shouldn't have gotten on," he whispered. I backed away, desperate to put as much distance between us as possible, but the bus felt endless. No matter how far I ran, the aisle stretched on, the seats blurring together in an impossible loop. And then, just as I thought I'd lose my mind, the bus screeched to a halt. The doors hissed open, and without thinking, I bolted outside, my legs nearly giving out beneath me as I hit the pavement. I was standing on a dark, empty street, the cold night air stinging my skin. The bus doors slammed shut behind me, and when I turned around, it was gone. Just gone. I stood there, gasping for breath, trying to make sense of what had just happened. But there were no answers, just the distant hum of the city and the cold, empty street beneath my feet. And then I saw it, my car, sitting right where I'd left it, with the flat tire still deflated. I stared at it, my mind racing. How was that possible? I'd taken the bus. I'd been on that bus. Or had I? I walked slowly toward my car, the events of the night swirling in my head like a bad dream. When I reached the driver's side door, I froze. Sitting on the passenger seat as if it had been waiting for me was a worn bus ticket. It had my name on it. And the time printed on it? 12:17 a.m., exactly when I'd gotten on the bus.